Hi, everyone. So it's official. I wanted to just share a couple of thoughts. You know, these past 7 years, 2,400 people have been killed. These past 7 years, 2,400 people have been killed. Our police force is 500 fewer. And our state's attorney is facing a federal criminal trial that may render her constitutionally ineligible. If a city in this country faces a worse crisis, a crisis of confidence, a crisis of crime, I am unaware of it. And as a person who's devoted his life to public service, hold it, Mom.
Thank you, sir.
Look, as a person who's devoted his life to public service, who's fought crime as a federal and city prosecutor, I simply can't wait and watch from the sideline as this human catastrophe unfolds, especially when I know I can do something about it, especially when I know I can do something to stop it. This is the worst violent crime crisis in Baltimore's history. We've had 75 murders, 150 shootings already this year, and that's 20% and 30% worse than last year, and last year was the worst year in Baltimore history. Worse than the 80s, worse than the 90s. This past year has been the worst we've ever seen. I'm honored by the friends and family members and neighbors, but I have to remind people that I'm not here with just friends and family and neighbors. I'm also here with relatives of loved ones who have been slain on the streets of Baltimore, who have lost their lives because we have not done enough to protect everyone here. The reality is that I spent my career, as so many of you know, as a prosecutor. I started as a federal prosecutor at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I then was a city prosecutor and led the Major Investigations Unit. And then I was Deputy Attorney General for the state of Maryland. But the truth is that long before I took the oath as a prosecutor, I made a pledge as a little boy. It was the same pledge I took every day from my first day at Edmondson Heights to my last day at Woodlawn High. It was a pledge to a flag, to a people united, to liberty and justice for all. Not justice for some, justice for all. Because everyone has a right to feel safe on every street, in every neighborhood, at every hour. For the last 7 years, people don't feel safe. For the past 7 years, it's our neighbors and our residents that are afraid. Well, it's time for the criminals to be afraid, because it is righteous to make sure that violent offenders are taken off the streets. There are young people that need a second chance. There are repeat offenders that need to be taught that there are consequences for their conduct. And creating a just, innovative, transparent system is not incompatible with driving down violent crime. In fact, it's required for it. For too long, too many have said that those objectives, fighting crime and reforming the system, are incompatible, when I have come to believe the exact opposite, that without one, you can't have the other. And frankly, our city, our citizens deserve both. I'm running because we face the worst crisis in Baltimore history, and I can't, as a person who's devoted his life to public service and fighting crime, watch from the sideline as this human catastrophe unfolds, especially when I know I can do something to stop it. Thank you guys so much for coming.
The good people of Baltimore City deserve it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Ricky, if you don't mind, just share a couple of words if you want to.
I thank you so much, and I appreciate so much that Thiru is willing to do the job, but more importantly, he can do the job, and we in Baltimore deserve it. We are good people. The city is a great city, and it hurts my heart to hear the news at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the morning. Innocent people, the wonderful people that are here who have lost their children, their family members. It has to stop, and you can stop it. Thank you, Thiru.
some of you may know this story, some of you may not. My father and Mr. Al Orblowski, taught together in the early 1980s at Douglas High School. Their pictures, Vignarajah and Orblowski, are actually next to one another in the yearbook. They both had funny names their students couldn't pronounce. They both had children the same age. One of them was killed in Baltimore outside the Royal Farms a few years ago. And the other one is running to make sure it doesn't happen again. Mr. Al and Miss Mary, we crossed paths again. We crossed paths again under the worst of possible circumstances, but unfortunately their story is not unique. Their story has become a story all across Baltimore. We've become a city of perpetual mourning, and we can do something about it. That was a few years ago. Miss Holly lost her son more recently. Her case is in the system right now. And as much as it breaks my heart to hear these stories, it is incredibly inspiring to know that these people are fighting. They're still fighting for the city that they love. Even a city that has taken so much from them, they still believe that we are destined to be better than we are. And Ms. Holly, I know, with your permission, if you don't mind just sharing a few words.
Sure. I'm honored to be standing here next to Thiru. About 2 months ago, I reached out to Thiru. My son was murdered June 21st, 2021. And we need the support of a prosecutor that will prosecute to the fullest. These people cannot keep getting out on deals or overcrowding in the prison system. Thiru is definitely the person that can do the job, and I will support him through this journey as he runs for prosecutor, and that my son, Darrell Hudson, also get the justice he deserves. We cannot keep having this war zone in Baltimore City and think it's okay. It's time for Mosby and her crew to go. And I'm here with Thiru, supporting him to the very end. Thank you.
I think I've said enough. I'll take a few questions if there are any. We're going to win. A lot has changed in 4 years. We have built the trust and credibility of people all across this city. We have earned the support of people all across the city. And I think, candidly, the people of Baltimore know who I am. They know what I'm about. They know that I get the job done and that I will never stop fighting for this city.
And if elected, would you go back to prosecuting the low-level offenses that Mosby is currently not?
Look, there are so many things that are going wrong in Baltimore right now. The idea that we can allow people to engage in what she is calling petty offenses, but are offenses that destroy neighborhoods, that escalate crimes, to suggest that there are no consequences for that conduct. Of course, the prosecutor has to use discretion in any given case about whether to pursue charges or not. But to announce a blanket policy that certain offenses are no longer criminal, I don't think that's right either.
Just a follow-up question to what she asked.
Yeah.
About kind of this looking similar to 2018 when the non-Mosby vote was split amongst you and affidavits. Can you talk a little bit about the calculus for jumping into the race, this time and considering the history there?
Look, I think there's going to be time for all of us, political pundits and candidates, to talk about the race and the calculations. I think today is to talk about the urgency, to talk about the moment of why this is so important. 2,400 murdered over the last 7 years, thousands more shot every year. The carjackings, the street robberies, the burglaries, they're out of control. Simply point, the people deserve a choice. They deserve a choice between a prosecutor who has devoted his life to this work, to making sure that this work gets done compared to folks that are either unwilling or incapable of doing what needs to be done. And you know, I'll tell you what my calculus is. My calculus is that there are people that are dying every day, that are being shot every day, that are being carjacked every day, and I can do something about it. I can bring this violence under control. I can deliver, with the help of a lot of people, the kind of safety and security that makes cities flourish. We can't get anything else done. We can't recruit businesses. We can't rebuild our schools unless crime is under control. You know, our benches, they say that Baltimore is the greatest city in America. We have to face facts. Baltimore is not the greatest city in America anymore, but it can be. It can be, and it needs us to turn around these basic problems, and the state's attorney has to lead the charge, not stand in the way. We're going to unify neighborhoods all across Baltimore. Certain neighborhoods shouldn't feel safe while other neighborhoods feel unsafe. Everybody deserves a right to feel safe in every corner, in every neighborhood, at every hour, and that's why I'm running.
I just want to follow up. I didn't hear Alex's full question, but I do think it's fair to ask. There's a lot. You're going to run an election or run in an election this year. Everything has changed. There's a lot that's in limbo. Have you planned to file today before the deadline was extended? Or did we may not be the first to take advantage of the extended deadline?
Yeah, look.
And how will you get the word out to people where they're supposed to vote this time? If they're precinct votes, that be part of your campaign.
That's a great question, Kate. I mean, this is unprecedented circumstances for a lot of directions, with the lingering cloud of COVID, with the dates of the election potentially in flux. You know, we're built for this. We've always been nimble and innovative, and we'll roll with the punches, whatever it is. Our job is to make sure that the people of Baltimore know what the options are, know what their choices are, know how important this election is, and get them to the polls, you know, whenever it is. As to your question about, look, this was not my plan, but this is a calling. And if you have the kind of violence we've seen this past weekend, this past month, these past 7 years, you can't sit on the sideline and watch this human catastrophe unfold. Over the last few weeks, my thinking about this has sharpened, and certainly, you know, the additional time give me that much more time to reflect. But I was ready. My team was ready, and it was important to start getting the word out now to understand that Baltimore has a real choice to move forward without always being the backdrop for violence and homicides and shootings and carjackings.
So it's safe to say that you hadn't originally planned, but that the extra time solidified your decision to actually run again.
Look, having more time to talk to people helps solidify my choice. We're in unprecedented circumstances. We have a state's attorney who faces a federal trial that could render her constitutionally ineligible. We have the worst murder rate in Baltimore history. Like I said before, if any city in America faces a crisis like that, a crisis of confidence, a crisis of crime, I'm unaware of it. And as a person who's devoted his life to public service, to fighting crime as a federal and city prosecutor, to watch from the sidelines, I just couldn't do it.
Thank you.
What's your reaction to those who may have worked with you in the past who have alleged this? I know this came up during the mayoral campaign. What do you say to those kind of allegations?
Look, there's going to be a time to address them, just as I've addressed before. The reality is that I'm proud of my record as a prosecutor. I'm proud of the work that I've done as a federal and city prosecutor and then as Deputy Attorney General. I'm proud of the work that we have done before, during, and after the election. This isn't just about the work that we've done on crime. We've built relationships all across the city by being the person who speaks up for the little guy, and that's what we're going to focus on today.
Obviously, you ran for mayor last election. I just wonder, if you're elected as state's attorney, is this something you're in it for the long haul to affect change from that position, or is it a stepping stone to go into a different?
Yeah, look, I've never thought about politics as a stepping stone to anything. I've thought about it as public service. And if you look at my record over the course of my career, I stay until the job is done. You know, there were cases when I was a city prosecutor that when I became Deputy Attorney General, I nevertheless continued to handle because I stay until the job gets done. If I have the privilege of serving, I will do that work until the work is done. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much for being here.